British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
Hello and good afternoon. I'm Keone Mo, and this is your 12:30 news update. BC's clocks turned back to standard time over the weekend, giving British Columbians the benefit of an extra hour. But studies say there are more factors that affect quality sleep. Reporter Caroline Doyle has more on the story.
A new study by the American Medical Association says light exposure can link to various cardiovascular conditions. The study gathered data from nearly 90,000 people aged 40 and older. It showed higher risk of coronary artery disease, heart failure, stroke, and other cardiovascular issues for individuals exposed to light at night. Light exposure can affect circadian rhythms, the 24-hour cycle that helps many bodily functions. Without consistent sleep schedules and proper light exposure strategies, experts say it can negatively impact sleep and overall well-being. Caroline Doyle, BCIT News.
The federal government will be introducing changes to its electric vehicle sales mandate in the winter, federal officials say. Mark Cauchi, Director of General Energy and Transportation at Environment and Climate Change Canada, told MPs that his department is looking to share the result of the review of the mandate. Prime Minister Mark Carney paused the rollout of the mandate and launched a 60-day review on September 11th. Beginning next year, car manufacturers were to ensure 20% of all new cars, SUVs, and light-duty trucks sold are zero-emission, including plug-in hybrids. But U.S. tariffs threw a wrench in the plan, and Carney exempted manufacturers from those targets for a year. Car makers have, in the meantime, called to completely repeal the mandate. BC's coroner says 158 people died from overdoses this September. They found that fentanyl and its analogs were discovered in 84% of victims tested. The three cities with the most deaths were Vancouver at 314, Surrey at 137, and Greater Victoria with 93. The coroner service found 3 more deaths among youth compared to this time last year. Nearly half of deaths happened in a private home, while 21% were outdoors, and 78% of those deaths were male. Prime Minister Mark Carney will be unveiling his first budget in Ottawa tomorrow. The government has promoted it as building big in Canada while shifting away from economic reliance on U.S. trade. Canadian press reporter Craig Lord says this budget is going to be a little bit different this time around.
Carney has built this budget as a plan to spend less but invest more. Now, what does that mean? He's going to divide the presentation of this budget between a capital stream, money that goes toward building homes, infrastructure, major projects, stuff like that, and an operating stream, the rest of the money that goes towards government services, salaries, transfers to Canadians and provinces.
Nearly 6,000 square kilometers burned in Ontario this wildfire season. Canadian press reporter Brenda Molina-Navidad tells us more.
The Ministry of Natural Resources says about 640 wildfires were recorded between April and October, with about 5,980 square kilometers burned. It says that's much more than last year and well above the province's 10-year average. Figures from the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Centre in August showed that Canada's 2025 wildfire season was the second worst on record, with an area roughly the size of New Brunswick burned. Scientists say climate change has made the country's fire seasons longer and more intense. Brenda Molina-Navidad, The Canadian Press.
As Prime Minister Mark Carney prepares to visit the United Arab Emirates, human rights advocates are calling on his government to do more to stop the flow of weapons from the UAE to a militia in Sudan committing acts of ethnic violence.
The UAE insists it isn't arming the Rapid Support Forces militia, but numerous human rights groups say they believe planes meant to carry humanitarian aid from the Gulf country to Sudan are regularly delivering weapons instead. World Vision Canada says Canadian-made weapons and components possibly delivered through the United Arab Emirates, are driving the violence in Sudan, which has been suffering through a civil war for more than 2 years. Carney has said he intends to visit the UAE later this month as Canada seeks investment in fields like artificial intelligence. Brenda Molina Navidad, The Canadian Press.